What's up, viewers and listeners? My name is Jay. I'm a registered nutritionist based here in Bristol, working with BJJ enthusiasts across the globe, helping jiu-jitsu practitioners perform to their best ability on the mat, whilst making sure they're not doing anything stupid with their weight cuts. On today's episode, we had Andrew Hardwick, aka the owner of Brotherhood Performance. Andrew is a brown belt in jiu-jitsu based at the Alley Cat Academy in Chorley, has competed on multiple platforms, having some epic wins on Grapplefest. Andrew is a S&C coach working online and in person, and Andrew is simply an expert at making monsters on and off the mat with his S&C programming, paying close attention to all the details. In this podcast, we talked about Owen Livesey with a dad bod, people selling cheap training programs, nutrition versus S&C, full-time competitors versus hobbyists, how the grass isn't always greener, and much, much more. Thank you for tuning in. And of course, if you're not subscribed, please click that button and turn on post notifications for further content updates. Thank you for watching and listening. Let's get into episode 19. Oos. Right, guys, episode 19 of the BJJ Nutrition Podcast. My name is Jay. I'm the host of the BJJ Nutrition Podcast, but also run the BJJ Nutrition Consultancy, making sure athletes are eating their best and performing to their best, and hobbyists for that matter, whilst also not doing anything silly with their weight cuts. Today, I've driven all the way up north to, I think as you refer to as God's country, to go and speak to this lovely guy who's also my own S&C coach online, and that is...
Andrew Hardwick.
Andrew Hardwick, who runs Brotherhood Performance. But mate, it's been really, really cool to get you on this. I know we've been chatting a little while.
Yeah.
I think we were trying to organise something for the last Grapplefest, but that is just, again, logistical nightmare. And I think, as everyone kind of knows, every time I try and speak to any of the other people in the jiu-jitsu community, it's like, where are you based, mate? Oh, 4 hours away. Yeah. Okay. And the wife's like, where are you going today? You're going to be back later? I'm like, might be by about 10, push. What, 10 in the morning? No, about 10 at night. So, it's been good to obviously come back up here while I'm a little trip away, mate. But thanks for coming on, mate. For anyone obviously doesn't know who you are, do you want to give a brief description, obviously, where you train, lineage, sort of previous experience in training, that type of stuff?
Yeah, so my name's Andrew, obviously. So I've been training jiu-jitsu now 8 years.
Nice.
8 years, I think. So I'm a brown belt under Neil Atkins.
Oh, I'm not as good as Shane then, sorry.
A brown belt under Neil Atkins at the Alley Cat Academy. We're based in Chorley, which is obviously in the beautiful north of England. I'm a strength conditioning coach by trade. I also coach jiu-jitsu as well. I've been in the sort of quote-unquote fitness industry for a long time.
We both great tea. I kind of just like great tea for my fitness industry.
Probably like the most people within the fitness industry obviously went to university.
You'd like to think.
Did a basic, you'd like to think you don't, so wouldn't you?
Didn't get a pure gym.
Went to a basic university. They obviously did my sport and exercise science degree, which I hated. Came out of obviously university, farted around for a bit, which was when I started training jiu-jitsu. And then out of sort of, again, I've always been into the gym, stuff like that, and at the time, my mum, funnily enough, worked in the cafe at a commercial gym.
Yep.
And I'd sort of been training jiu-jitsu sort of relatively full-time for about a year and a half, I think 18 months, something like that, and was running out of money. And was sort of like, right, I should probably get my arse in gear now and try and get a job. Obviously, always been interested in the gym, had like basic PT qualifications, and was like, sod it, I'll do it and see how we go on. And then obviously over time you just progress and develop and learn and sort of.
So did you do the degree after you got the PT qualification? Or
no, so I did the degree first.
That was
and then
the sports
science.
science,
When I was sort of in my time training full time, I was like, well, I sort of like the gym and stuff like that. I should probably look at getting a qualification or something like that. And so I did it whilst I was just training. And luckily I'd finished it and all that sort of stuff, and I needed a job and went and worked in a commercial gym for a period of time, obviously you progress, and that we're where we are now.
That makes sense, mate. For me, again, I went to university late, so I was technically mature student and stuff. And I look back at when I was like 18, 19, I would have got a degree in something completely fucking random.
Oh, yeah.
And I would have just fucking pissed all the money away.
Well, I mean, I did basically. I hated, like, by the time I got to finish college, obviously, got all my A-levels that I needed to get into university.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been very good at anything else other than sport, really. So my only thing was like, well, I like going to the gym, I like sport, I'll go and do sports science. Hated it, hated pretty much every minute of it.
What was it, just the technicality of it, or was it just like different?
It was just nothing to do with what I was interested in.
Okay.
Because obviously when you go, the problem with, I mean, where I went to university, the sport and exercise science degree is based around creating sport and exercise scientists.
Right.
So it was not very practical. There wasn't really, the topics were very, you're obviously, when you go to university, the topics that you learn about within your semesters are all based around what the lecturers are learning and researching and all that sort of stuff. So out of 3 years of university, I reckon 3 of the modules I did interested me.
Right.
So
I can relate to it, mate, to be fair. So, again, anyone who's obviously, again, not to belittle anyone, but on the university spectrum in terms of like where the best universities to go to, there's obviously a very big consensus that unless you're going to somewhere like Loughborough, King's College London, that type of thing, you're not going to get anywhere near it. And
no.
There is a little bit of transparency with it. So, again, obviously I tell people I got my degree from Bath. University. People go, oh, is that the Bath with like the Olympics? And I was like, no, it's the other one, which is more artsy-fartsy and this type of stuff, which is nothing against them. But again, you can tell the module selection is based obviously on what the lecturers are doing.
Of course,
and there's elements of it which I was like, this bores the shit out of me. I've just got no interest.
That was it. And like, I went to Leeds Met, so the level of sport academia at Leeds Met is really good. It's a really good level of...
Nice.
But it's still dependent on what your research, your lecturer's learning about.
Yeah.
So if like one of my lecturers was, I can't remember exactly his name, but he was quite well established in like gait, as in like biomechanical gait.
Yeah.
But like his research was based on people walking on a fucking treadmill. And you're just like, I want to jump off a bridge here. Like, this is horrific.
Yeah.
And like, and it was not, he was a good lecturer. His seminars and stuff were really interesting, but you sort of just like, I could not give less of a shit about this.
Yeah. So again, we'd have like biochemistry lessons and stuff
same,
like this.
Similar thing.
And my logic was for what I intended to utilise the degree for, right? I'm sure you get this, that even me and you, we start talking about biochemistry and how a carbohydrate is digested to the minute detail. I get bored after fucking 15 minutes, right? Average Joe on the fucking street, don't give a fuck.
Don't give a shit.
Can I have bread, basically, is the response that you typically got. And again, or I don't know, me messaging you, like, should I be bouncing on both legs or just the one leg type of thing? And that's more practical advice. And for me, it kind of also steered my sort of views on going down the dietetics route and becoming a dietitian. Not saying this is what every dietitian does, but for me to feed someone through a tube who's in critical care, yes, very rewarding at the end of it that they come out of it, but there's no immediate response, whereas I'm sure you get the same gratification. You get a message instantaneously, mate, just hit a PB, just fueled my fucking awesome rolling session, this type of thing. That to me, I don't know if it's just, I don't know, a culture thing of immediate gratification. That's more, I prefer that much more, and it comes back to the point of, when you go to some of these details and the level you can go to, it's very hard to translate that into where you're going to see you're going to be. Of course. And so you can see where people can get despondent with it. But
and don't get me wrong, like, obviously looking back now, it taught me some really good lessons. Obviously you taught like reading research and literature and stuff like that. And you're obviously, you get that element of, right, well, this is what sports science is about. Like, so it's not completely like, oh, fuck it off, because it doesn't matter. Like, I at the minute, especially, a lot of my time is spent in literature, like reading about certain topics. But it's within my domain, it's my frame of reference. You know what I mean? It's the things that interest me. So on one hand, it provided me with a load of tools that were probably effective. Now, were those tools worth 40 grand and 3 years of my time? Probably not. Like I didn't even go to my graduation. Like, I just was so disinterested with it. I mean, I barely turned up for 2 years. I sort of used to rock up at the end of the month and be like, what are the exams about? Because I just need to cram revise.
I'll be honest, like, with my degree, I was somewhat lucky with
COVID coming in because we had extensions put into place.
That's good.
I then got diagnosed with type 1, which then gave me further extensions and stuff because, again, my ability to again, I'm pretty sure I was speaking to fucking Shane that I've got a mild ADHD of some sort.
Well, I mean, I definitely have it.
And it's the idea of trying to focus on that one task and then not see.
We all have it nowadays. We've all got TikTok mentality.
Exactly, and you can see why it's all kind of sort of tailored towards that. But without those extensions, I generally don't think I would have passed my degree. And it's not to say that I can't do my job well. It's just the ability to put pen to paper. And exam-wise, never had great success when I was in lower school, and it was just the case of always pressure on me, like, you should be an adult now, you should know how to do this and all this jazz. But you are right in terms of the skills that you acquire in terms of reading literature, which is probably a real big bugbear of mine, is that you'll hear someone like Joe Rogan, let's say, on the way up here, this may cause X, Y, and Z. I'm like, that word may is so fucking critical because it's not definite, it's not, this is the case, this is like, and most of the time after the word may, you go further down to the conclusion section of that paper, it's like, more research is needed. But people hear the word may, and Joe Rogan say about it, like, oh, it must be fucking gospel type thing straight away.
It is difficult, and one of the things that, like, so like obviously, like, for me, a lot of my work at the minute, because of the math side of things, is based on like sort of like skill acquisition research and stuff like that. So but then when you're like in the community of jiu-jitsu and you hear people use topics and they go, well, the research, it's like, you've not read the fucking research. So it's like, that's where you do need the practical sense of things, but it's also like, well, you're either in or out, mate. Like, you can't read a fucking abstract and go, well, I've read the research. It's like, well, you've not, because there's a shitload of stuff. Like, I'm not saying you need to be like digesting R numbers and being going, like, looking at the statistical significance and running trials for your laptop, but like, one piece of literature does not cover the research.
No, exactly.
And I'm not saying I'm by all means not saying that I'm like the most well-read individual, but it's just like, there's such a big scope of practice in terms of the context of the words that you use.
I think one of the things that one of my lecturers told me is that when you look at research, right, it's more common for the paper to come up as like not the result we predicted. Need more testing to be done. Didn't understand these variables. If you come up with a paper like your dissertation or your thesis that then says this is brand spanking new, be prepared to be grilled by fucking everyone in the community because they're like, this doesn't happen.
Well, that's what peer review is, isn't it?
Exactly, and that's one of the things. And people then, the funny thing is, I love playing devil's advocate with people having conversations about different diets. Right, I say, I can be really unbiased to the situation. You can put me in any camp and say, argue keto's great. I'll have a blast. Just go for a fucking crack because I've got no opinion on it. But the argument again comes that you can get research for everything.
Oh, mate,
right?
There's evidence
pros
for
and cons.
everything.
Like, I imagine within your field of work easily is like the whole knees over toes fucking argument.
Oh yeah, there's loads.
You've got loads of both fucking sides.
S&C is like, it's a spectrum of absolutes. Like, but it's the same with nutrition. It's like so you've on one hand you've got like obviously nutrition isn't my field of practice, but like you've got the like almost like carbohydrates are everything, and then on the other end you've got fats are everything. And it's like the answer's probably somewhere in the middle.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, it's just like finding it, and it's the same with strength conditioning. It's like, or like you said, knees over toes on one end is like this hypermobility, everything's through ranges of movement, and then on the other hand you've got the West Side method, which is like max effort, everything's fucing die under a barbell, and it's like, well, your answer's probably in the middle a little bit.
Dorian died over 3 days. And then back on the
you've probably, for the majority of people, the answer's probably somewhere in the middle.
Exactly, and I think the other thing I always try and remind people is context. That you need context for everything. It's like, I had sort of discussion the other day, and it's like, oh right, okay, so would you not agree that everyone should just eat as naturally as fucking possible? I'm like, I can't verify that 100%, right? He's like, what do you mean? Surely as a nutritionist, you should be just getting everyone to eat fruit and veg all the time. I say, well, yeah, that's fine, but it depends on the individual, right? I had a case with a client who was getting gout symptoms, right? And it turned out when we did a bit of a FODMAP approach and a few removals from the diet, that it all boiled down to the fact he had, I think it was something like 25 grams of, it might be not as much, but it was a big portion of honey with his oats, right? We reduced that portion down to half of that honey, gout symptoms disappeared. And it's like, well, technically that honey's natural. So does that mean that's something I should be advising them to eat more of or less
yeah.
of? And I was like, are you talking about moderation here?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, yeah, kind of, but again, you sure you don't want to be eating Jaffa cakes? I said, but in the realistic world, like, there's nothing wrong with Jaffa cakes in moderation, likewise with honey in moderation, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about the context. But sorry, mate, we've gone fucking balls deep into
you're
fucking
right.
us
It's the
bitching
same
about
thing.
it.
It's like funnily enough, I put Q&A up on my Instagram story this morning. Someone asked me like back squats, front squats, or split squats, and it's like, well, in what context? Yeah. Like, all right, you could argue there's obviously positives and negatives to each of them, but you could probably look at it and go, well, which one is going to be the best for you? Yep. Like, you're probably not a full-time athlete. You probably don't need to worry too much about how much load you've got on your back. You're not a power lifter. Like, pick a movement that feels good, works. You're going to be able to overload it, and that's what we're going to focus on. Yep. It probably isn't. All right, you could argue there's a bit of nuance by the fact that we could probably work a little bit on front squats. If we can build a good front squat, you're probably going to be strong through your upper back. You're probably going to have good quad development, knee health, all that stuff.
All those are positives, but let's say you haven't got the shoulder ability.
Yeah, you can't get under the fucking bar. Like, what's the point? It's like, yeah, there is clear, and you could go into research to use that example and go, right, well, this is what the research says about a back squat, this is what it says about a front squat, this is what it says about a split squat. But does that evidence apply to that individual? Probably not. No. So it's like, it's pragmatic. You've got to be pragmatic, haven't you? And like you said, it's individual based. Evidence is fantastic, both anecdotal and theoretical from a research standpoint, whether it is peer reviewed. But
there's another study in there which always gets my fucking goat. Epidemiology, is that the right one? They do it on mass populations. Yeah. And again, they'll do research on that, and I try to explain to people that, again, right, you look at mass population research, again, for me, it's probably like red meat cause cancer, right? And I'm like, but let's have a look at what that mass population is, right? You've got average Joe going on the pub, nails 10 pints every night, gets fucking sniffed up on the weekend, and has a steak, and that's then apparently that is going to be the case. And like, again, all these different bits of research has to have context around it. And even if you do get the most optimal individual, right, take even fucking good old Gordon, there's certain things that he does that, yes, it may be a bit more applicable because he's in that top 0.001%, and in that case, that bit of information could be useful for him. But how many fucking Gordon Ryans are there on this planet? Like, it's not even that person.
Yeah, like you said, but like to summarise, context is everything.
Yeah, makes all the fucking difference. Sorry, mate, massive tangent. I knew we were going to get into this type of stuff straight away. What's your competition history like there, mate? Obviously at brown belt, I'm sure obviously you compete. You wanted to also add these on his medals, by the way.
No, they're not.
He could have blanked that the whole way, but but what's your competition experience then, mate? Go into that.
It's been all right. I've been pretty competitive since I started. First comp was like 4 months into training, so
nice.
I got nicely disqualified in that.
Mate, everyone I've seen talk to seems the first comp they get DQ'd. Like, I had that first ever fucking
got
comp.
DQ'd.
How did you get DQ'd?
Slamming. It wasn't even that bad. It sounds more sexy than it was.
I know, why the same thing?
Yeah, so I literally, what it was in the match, I was winning the match, and I went double unders. So you know like how when you lift double unders, you go to stack like this?
Yeah.
As I stacked him, he come off the ground about 1 inch. And the ref DQ'd me for it.
Mate, I just a very similar situation in a triangle. Right, arm was in, corners there, and this is an MMA club as well, so like it's all rough and fucking ready. And he goes posture up, to which I've like lifted this guy up, right? And I'm like and it doesn't even. Again, I'm on my knees for this. I'm not stood up that power on the guy. And I'm like, all right, so like put him back down. He's like, no, don't put him back down, type thing. And I've literally like picked him up off the floor, laid him on his side basically, and the ref's like, DQ. And I'm like, fuck's sake, but
yeah, so other than that, done quite well, mate. My ambition with jiu-jitsu, like I mean, we've already sort of spoke about this off camera, but like
worlds,
world champion. I'm very realistic, mate. I'm quite probably my friends would call me pessimistic, but I call it realism. I'm very aware of what I'm capable of. Do you know what I mean? Like, so my goal was my ambition for jiu-jitsu always was. I never wanted to be part of watering down of the sport. So I never wanted to be, I basically always wanted to be hang, do you know what I mean? Like I wanted to be able to hold my own. So my ambition always was, at every belt rank, I wanted to win a tournament.
Okay, cool,
Just one, that's all I wanted. So that I could, for want of a better, would prove to myself that I was capable of the belt rank, I could beat guys that are my weight, my age, and at my ability.
Nice.
Obviously, I've exceeded my goal. I've done quite well, relatively speaking. So, like, been on Grapplefest, done loads of like sub-only stuff. Obviously, like I said, completed my goal of winning a tournament at each belt level.
Nice.
At various different tournaments like Grappling Industries. Like, I've done AJP, won AJPs, like loads of local stuff, 24/7s, Empires, an IBJJF, and then obviously done all like the sub-only thing as well. So
Kind of a big deal.
yeah, you could say that. But yeah, so it's like, in comparison to some, it's nothing.
Yep.
But I've been around the block, mate. I've got the reps in the tank and fought some good guys, and I've, like I said, won some good matches. And I'm not a full-time competitor by any stretch of the imagination. It's very much I'd probably still fall under the. I always like to say I'm like bang average. That's the way I've always referred to myself. Like, if you've got Gordon on one end and Timmy the white belt on the other end, I'm bang average. I'd like to consider myself that.
Mate,
but like, I've done well, mate. I've got some medals on the wall. I've got some t-shirts in the closet. Like, I've no complaints at all.
Yeah, mate, that's what it's all about. And I think I like that idea. That's something, again, probably something that will resonate with you quite a lot, was that my expectations was, at a white belt, was to win gold.
Yeah.
Got that done within this year quite quickly, and then I was like, I want an absolute belt type thing.
Yeah.
All-star, I've always said this loads of times.
Yeah.
All-star absolute belt looks sick, even though it's nothing much for a white belt champion.
Yeah.
But I was like, let's just fucking go and get that. And typical, got the blue belt promotion the week before. I was like, cheers for that. And then doing Grapple Industries, I generally hands down think Grapple Industries has probably the best
value for money.
Yeah.
It's fucking hands down is the best value for money tournament wise.
Like, I felt for competition nerves and mindset, it just eradicates it massively, because it's like, what happens if I lose the first match? Well, you got 4 more.
You got 4 more, yeah.
Like, makes no
Doesn't
fucking
mean-
difference.
doesn't make a full
And
lot.
even then, it doesn't mean that you've lost the fucking gold either. Like,
In terms of reps, it is like the big thing for the majority of us who aren't, like, if you're a full-time competitor, if that's what you want to be, then your scope of competition changes.
Yeah.
Because it genuinely is, you've got to win. It is win at all costs, realistically.
Even though it's not too fussed on that O, if that makes sense, or like the loss record,
No.
I think it's very different to that. But
it's just a mindset change.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's not, no one gives a shit if you lose, but at the same time, your expectation to win. Like, I always say this to guys, like, when, like, I always speak to competitors, and like, my mindset now, if I go, so obviously I'm adult, I'm a brown belt, so like, my divisions can vary quite drastically, like, in terms of ability. But like, the way I always look at it is, if I'm going against someone who I know is training full time, they should kick fuck out of me.
yeah, in my head, I go like, it's trying to ruin their day.
Like, why?
Let's try and
like,
upset them.
if I compete against a full-time grappler or someone who's competing full-time and they win by 2 points, they should consider that a loss, in my opinion. Like, you should run through me.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm nearly 30, my body's on its ass, I train 4 times a week on the mats. Like, you should batter me. And if you don't batter me, that's your fault. Like, that says more about you than it says about me. It either says you're training shit, or you should probably go and look at getting a job.
Or we just find out you stall a lot, and that's it. We find competition footage, just there, like, just stalling the whole fucking time. I want a good turn.
Well, that's always been my mindset of it. Like, I'll always compete and I'll always go out to win and hang. Like I said, my ambition was always to be able to hang. Like, I'm not asked about winning. Like, I want to turn up on the. My ambition as a white belt was like, if I turn up to a gym, I want everyone to go, fucking hell, it's gonna be an hard day. This, do you know what I mean? Like,
that's interesting.
And it's like I said, it's never been about winning. Like I said, if you win, if you beat me, like, fair play. Like, so it's not so much about that. But like I said, if that's my always, like I said, nowadays my thing is like, if you're training full time and you don't beat me, that's on you.
It's interesting, because again, I know we both started at similar sort of clubs in terms of like MMA clubs and that type of thing. And the mindset I got drilled into me quite early on, especially on like open mat type of roles, is that don't give a fuck what belt you are, and certainly do not ask me technical questions in this open mat, right? You're just getting filled in. And for me, straight away, and this may actually be relatable in the S&C world, is that I got told back in the day was that there was a trainer, don't know where he's from, I think he's Eastern European, who said that I can make you PR every fucking time we train. And his analogy wasn't, this isn't 1 rep max PR, by the way. This is like, what's your 10 rep max on this? And everyone will be able to PR. And so again, taking that mindset into white belt mentality and open mat, it's like, cool, you may get smashed during the round, but did you sweep the guy?
Yeah. Where did you win something?
Where did you win at something? And it's be able to take those little wins, and if you can keep that mindset all the way fucking through, especially now I got my blue belt, I've kind of switched off to even giving a fuck about belts now to some degree. I just wanted the conversation in the street, like, oh, you're a white belt type thing, like, oh, you don't really know what you're doing type thing. It's just because I've got a blue belt and that makes it a little bit better. Not that the Croc's got the blue belt on, that should be the biggest sign of all. But the idea being is just taking those little wins and then obviously just rolling with it. And that I'm guessing that goes all the way fucking through the belt journey to some degree.
It's personal progression.
Yeah.
That's the way you got to look at it. Like, for 99% of the people in this sport, we won't make a living off competing. No. So why not focus? So a lot of what we do from a coach, what I do from a coach perspective, both on the mats and obviously you'll experience this a little bit from the strength conditioning thing, is like, it's trying to change try and reframe how you think about your training. Like, because at the end of the day, nothing externally really matters that much. You can't really control anything externally. You can't give a shit what people think of you.
Nope.
No one, if he lifts 10 kilos more than you, why the fuck does that matter to you? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's about what you can do as an individual and your progression as an individual.
It's not about where you're at, it's about where you're going.
Yeah. So like, if we can, but that's changed. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so like when I was first started training, and you want that adulation, you want that gold medal, you want that, and there's still a part of me that wants that. Do you know what I mean? But as I've obviously been training for a long time, I've got wear and tear on me. Obviously, I came from rugby as well, so I was already battered when I first started training. You have to, or I've had to almost quench my competitiveness a little bit and try and just change the focus to me.
Reframing, I think.
Reframe it. So it's like, am I getting better? Am I enjoying myself when I'm training? Like, all these different things. Because I was funny enough, I'm quite fortunate that like one of my best mates trains with us as well. So, and we've done everything since, I've known him since year 4, so we've been best mates for fucking a long time.
Did you used to fill each other in before you even got to jiu-jitsu type
Well,
thing?
yeah, we both played rugby together, I've known him for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And we sort of talking like, because he's like, we've basically followed the same path. It's quite funny, like, realistically, there's not many people, like, see him like 6 days of the week. So it's like, and we're nearly 30, so like, and that's
the working wife type thing.
Yeah, pretty much like. But like, we were chatting the other week, and I was sort of saying, like, it's interesting, like, when we first started training jiu-jitsu, we were both unemployed, we were both single, like, so your scope of practice is fucking huge. So you can just, what do you want to do on Saturday night? Well, we'll just go to gym and train. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've got nothing else to do. Whereas now, we've both got girlfriends, partners, like, we've both got dogs, like, you've got, like shit life. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, your perspective of what you can and can't do, it changes. And you might, like, somebody who's a full-time competitor, you might go, well, that's a choice of preference. And it's like, well, fucking yeah, of course it's a choice of preference. Like, if you said to me now, do you want to come up to the gym at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night and train, or do you want to spend a night in with your missus? I'm going to be like, I want to spend a night in with my missus. like, there's things obviously you want to, I love jiu-jitsu, mate, and I'll always love jiu-jitsu or grappling, but like you said, your life choices change. You have to, I can't sleep on, like, people, like, when I was 21, I'd sleep on a mat, because I wasn't asked. I'm nearly 30 now, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
That will be in pieces right too.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, I make money, I can fucking pay to stay in an hotel. It's your preferences change, don't they, and adapt over time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You go through that phase, especially when you're younger, and you look at and this is not to begrudge or be jealous of anyone, but some of the younger guys now who are in their early 20s who are getting these opportunities to go to Worlds, Pans, all this type of stuff, or fight abroad type thing. I'm like, dude, go and fucking enjoy it. Go, like, I know you're focused on getting a gold here, but my biggest tip for you is if you've got time afterwards, switch the fuck off from it. It's happened, you can't change it, Go and enjoy where the fuck you are. I would love to have the opportunity to be able to go like, oh yeah, cool, I've just gone to Vegas to compete, and then all of a sudden, like...
I always say this, like, and that it's interesting because at the moment in time, it seems like the most important thing in the world. Like what you said, whether you win or lose, like it feels like, and it still does, obviously, when you lose, and it's not nice. And when you win, it's that fucking ego boost that you're like, class, I've won. Like, but So I worked with Jack Hazard, who trains with Owen Livesey in Hull, and I was like, Jack, you're like 21, 22. He was like, you're a purple belt, young, athletic, strong, you've got nothing tying you. Just go and fuck off, mate. Just go and, if you can travel. You can be skint for another 5 years. You've got nothing holding you. Like, just go and experience as much as you can.
Yep.
Because ultimately, no one gives a shit whether you won or lost that Empire Grand Prix. Like, but you won't remember that. You'll remember people only really care how well you're doing, and they don't really care, but like when you get a bit of notoriety, that's when it becomes a little bit more important. So take as many losses as you can now, and just build that bank. You look at guys that are excelling in the country, like you've got like Ash Williams and guys like that are like at that sort of bridging. And I mean, they kick fuck out of me, but like. Obviously Ash qualified for ADCC last year. They're on that like brink of like being like in the mix with the best guys in the world. Probably is in the mix with the best guys in the world. I'm not saying that, please don't take offence, Ash. I just meant like when you look back at what they've done, they've got this huge bank of experience. And no one remembers what Ash was doing at Purple Belt. No one remembers whether he won or lost. No. It's what he's doing now that people are going like he's qualifying for ADCC, beating the Meows on Polar. It's like
it's interesting because again, like. When I look at how well, again, so many people have said that no one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Like Ricky Bellingham said it, obviously, like, I go out and compete and no one's like, oh, I beat you at the Nuki Open at White Belt. He's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, literally doesn't make any difference. But one thing I'll give kudos to Ash and everyone else and Chris Reeves down there is, and Josh obviously to some extent, as well, but we're one big unit club, right? I don't know what it is. It's like nothing against you guys here, for example, but there just seems to be such like separation.
Well, it's full-time training academy, professional training environment.
But there doesn't seem to be anyone else in the UK who's of that size who are doing it.
Well, it's interesting because, but they've like presumably they've all accepted. So like obviously, I don't know Ash, but he did a mentorship a while ago, and I thought I'll just join it and I'm always interested in finding out what people's training environments are like. So like I'll do it for a month and see what it was about. And from what I've heard, essentially he just turned around and was like, "Look, we're going to make a full-time training academy.
Really?
We're going to train at this time, and this was the schedule." But you have to like those guys. Them being good at jiu-jitsu is worth being skint, not having any money. Like. Not doing anything.
It's just the little details, like they've got the house. No, obviously they've put, I don't know if they've got the house for rent and stuff.
But like, it's that commitment, isn't it? Yeah. You've got to build that environment. And
I'm just surprised that there's not many other clubs in the UK doing it, because you look at America.
You've got to fund it, haven't you?
Right.
That's the problem.
They've all got their clubs where they've got like you've got one extreme, like let's say. Heath Pedigo. So like they've got their little clique, they've got their group, they're all living into houses together type of thing. B team, I appreciate others doing next door to each other, but they're all going to be in the same sort of facility. Roca, New Wave, all this type of stuff, right? They've all got this club mentality.
But it's professional environments, isn't it? And unfortunately, in the UK, there isn't a professional grappling scene.
Ooh, that's a big statement. Yeah.
But there's not though. Like, and that's no disrespect. Like, all right, you might get like Polaris and Grapplefest and these shows that are paying, but you can't live off a grand. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not making, unless you've got like, you've got the marketing value of Theon or Owen Livesey.
Yeah.
You're not going to make fuck all money.
No.
So it's like you have to basically, again, talk about like reframing and acceptance. You basically have to go like, you're chancing your dice.
But then let me challenge that a little bit. You say there's not many opportunities, but look at, let's say, the B team, right? Yeah. They've got very good marketing.
Very good marketing.
They've got their T-shirt, they've got their merch, they've got their podcast, right? Yeah. And to some degree, are their opportunities any better than someone who's just based in a different country? I'd probably disagree.
No. So So I'd agree with you completely with that. But it's about I agree with what you're saying completely. But that is based off individuals, not the gym.
Sure, that makes sense.
Whereas Ash's, what they seem to have at Drake, obviously I've never been and I don't really know the guys, so it's only off observation.
So wicked place to say the least. We've been on there 3 times, but it's wicked.
But I can imagine, mate. And the guys are fucking class. Do you know what I mean? But that's the reason why they're having success is because it's a full-time training environment. Like it's a professional training environment. Now, whether it's no disrespect, whether it's an effective training environment is to be seen. I don't know, but like essentially the environment they've created is that of an environment where everyone is training full time with one purpose. Yeah. Whereas with most jiu-jitsu gyms, you might get, say you've got 200 members, 10 of those guys might be like, I want to compete. Of that 10, 1 or 2 might be like, I want to make this my job.
Yeah, and even then the reality behind it is out of those 2 people, one of them potentially could get injured. Yeah.
And out of those change. 2, but like if you consider that and this is where jiu-jitsu is interesting, because we spoke about this in terms of like what actual top quality like elite level sport is. Of that, you might get, just because you want to be full time doesn't mean you're going to be a fucking professional grappler. Do you know what I mean? Like Craig Jones is a personality and he's got very good marketing, but he's also
very good.
The second best grappler, no-gi grappler in the world,
which he's proud of as well.
Which he's proud of. So it's like, yeah, all right, it works, but then you look at like Owen, for example. Like I always say this, like Owen's marketing, whether funnily enough, I sent him a message the other day about this, like. Marketing for Owen's the best marketing, one of the most marketable men in grappling.
Yep.
Because he's fucking massive and just chucks grown men about.
Yep.
So like it's the most marketable thing in the world. But if you were looking at it from a submission standpoint, if you were looking at it purely as a result standpoint, he's probably not got the best record, but he don't give a shit about that.
No.
But Owen can make money because of his persona in the sport, for example. Obviously he's mint as well, but like compared to like somebody who maybe is an exceptional submission artist, which in theory you'd think, oh wait, well jiu-jitsu is based on submissions, I'll watch the submission artist. It just doesn't work in that manner.
No, I think the times that we are, you have to utilise the tools
you've got to be smart.
And I think this is the one thing I keep on drilling. So like, we got one guy at our place who is super fucking technical, watches his own fucking like rolls back, always, but loves it, right? We all joke and say he's on the fucking spectrum of all type of thing. But he did a YouTube channel the other day. He's done 2 videos. He's got over sort of like 5,000 followers already.
Fucking hell, that's good.
And there's like 30,000 views on each and every video.
Yeah, that's really good.
And I'm like, this is because of his technical ability to assess stuff. Yeah. He's been able to re-communicate that out into a free platform to then gain that in.
Yeah.
I said, mate, you keep doing these videos, right? Your YouTube channel's going to go fucking massive all of a sudden.
That doesn't always, but it's interesting because it doesn't always mean money.
No, again, like even then we looked at the numbers obviously for like monetization and this type of stuff. It's like, oh, you've got to meet certain parameters. Like, I didn't have a fucking idea about this, but it's again, as you mentioned, if he tried to market himself, not saying he couldn't, he may struggle based on his personality, he's going to be attracted to it, but he can still pass on that technical ability. Where it's like, cool, I've seen the percentage breakdowns of all the Polaris matches, and we all know someone like that. There's nothing wrong with them. It's interesting to pick their brains about it, and other times you're like, just shut the fuck up for a second. Please. I don't need to know how many fucking times, I don't know, Charles Oliveira landed his left hand front jab in comparison to his right front type stuff. But no, it's interesting. I think as it's going to evolve, obviously, in the UK scene, I think people need to not be so anti-collaborative, I think is the best way. Oh,
massively,
Because I think at the end of the day, all you're going to do is just fragment it more and more and more. When you see, like I said, Drake, for example, where they've kind of, I don't know, there probably is still politics, like in every club, but they've just gone like...
No politics in jiu-jitsu is the biggest lie.
Yeah, there's always something going on.
Mate, someone's always shagging someone, or like, it's fucking bollocks, mate. Yeah. The grass always seems greener. I say this to lads all the time. Yeah. The grass always seems greener, because you look at another gym and you go, well, what are they doing? And you go, that looks fucking mint. And then you go there and you're like, oh, they've all got the same problems that we've got. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like where there's people, there's problems, and it's easy to look at it, and it's about what you value. Do you know what I mean? That's what it's about. Like if that's what you want, then make the commitment and go for it. Yeah. But if you don't want that, that's also completely fine.
Yeah, you can easily test the waters with different things, and there's nothing wrong with taking a backtrack and saying I made an error. That's the other thing. People feel like, oh, I've wasted time. Of course, time is a commodity to some degree, and yes, we've all wasted time on different things, and we want all the right answers to this, but sometimes you've got to have these life lessons to understand it in the first place, and you can be told until you're blue, like that person's blue in the face, telling that individual, right, you need to do this, and this.
You've got to figure it out for yourself.
You've got to figure it out for yourself, or it's another fucking voice that says exactly the same thing. I was like, oh, is that what you're talking about? I've been
Yeah.
trying to tell you this for fucking years,
Yeah,
type
yeah.
thing. But again, another fucking tangent, didn't surprise me.
Yeah.
What's happened with your weight then, mate? Like I said, there's no judgment. I'm not here to be like, oh, you're not like, what have you done with this? But have you always stayed the same weight category? Have you gone up? Have you gone down?
I genuinely have been the same weight roughly since. So when I started jiu-jitsu, I was probably about 90 kilos.
Yeah.
So I was like coming from like powerlifting, so I was out of shape. I mean, I'm not exactly the tallest fella, so 90 kilos on me was like rough.
Yeah, basically rugby player build.
Yeah, I was just like out of breath walking upstairs and shit. So I was just like coming out of university. Obviously, it's not the healthiest of living environments.
Popped in it all there.
Yeah, so I was about 90 kilos, I think, and just through training, as my volume of training just escalated, the weight just come off.
A quick word about one of our sponsors, Grapplers Soap. The team wanted to find, right, the best possible defense against skin infections, which normally we get from each other or off the mass. This, in turn, led Dan and the team into researching more about soaps and essential oils, which turns out has been used for thousands of years, actually, as a natural defense against infection during the plague. Slightly twisted story here, but grave robbers in England knew of the power of essential oils and smothered themselves in it before exhuming and stealing corpses. Useless fact of the day for you there. But Dan and the team had tried several soaps before, but none of them just simply wowed them. So he started to make his own. Months more research, trial and error led to finally this golden nugget, Grapplers Soap, which you'll be pleased to know the recipe is CPR registered and approved by pharmacists. The use of a specific method to lock in the amazing natural smell, no cheap fragrances used here, which means the soap and use smell great and stand the best chance of staying healthy. Although the soap was developed for grapplers alike, it is now widely being used by non-grapplers, and Dan is always delighted to hear from customers about how it's cleared up dry and itchy skin, or relieved eczema, or just simply made you feel awesome. The smell alone has been a massive hit with men and women alike. So enough waffle for now. Go and get yourself some now at www.mrbassets.com, or go check out their Instagram page for some very funny memes at Grapplers Soap. Thank you, guys.
So when I first started, I used to compete at middleweight, which is, depending on what you're doing, sub 82, 80, 79-ish.
So you were 90 and then moved down to...
Well, so I did, the first competition I did was under 85.
Is that medium, medium heavy?
Medium heavy, and then just over time, I think I was about 83 probably at the time.
Okay.
And then used to just cut to middle, so like 79.
Okay.
Hated it, absolutely hated dieting. Used to make me feel like shit. It was like proper like bad dieting etiquette.
Go on, break it down then.
Cutting,
Again, no
basically
judgment.
just like cutting carbs and fucking
good old choice.
just like sweating it out for but yeah, so I hated it, and then so I competed at middle I probably am a middleweight, am, because I'm only like 5'8" and I'm just lazy and like chocolate biscuits. So I used to cut to middle, competed at middleweight until probably end of blue, purple belt, and then it was just like, fuck this, I'm just not doing this anymore. I didn't like doing it.
What was the tipping point for that? Because again, like I said, there's going to be some people, viewers and listeners, who are going to be like, yeah, I've always done this, done this.
So, I mean, I don't like restriction, anyway, not because I'm late, well, I am a bit lazy in that sort of instance, but like, again, it's not my job.
Yeah.
So why am I making myself miserable for the sake of 3 kilos?
You would have done it again. I hope you don't want me challenges. But
No.
You would have done this obviously for quite a few times.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Oh, it was just miserable. Just fucking miserable. I remember doing so me and Josh, who's my best mate, we did British Nationals, first comp at blue belt, and I think I'd gone a little bit rogue with my food, and trained really hard. It was the last tournament I did before I started my job, so I'd like put a load of effort into it. And I fought a guy called Faris, who's a black belt now, who's fucking shit hot, like probably one of the best gi black belts in the country. Like, he's really good.
Nice.
So I'd cut all this weight to the middle, was miserable. I was like overtrained, underfed, unhappy. Went down, was on the mat at 10 o'clock and lost by 10:05. IBJJF as well, so there's no other matches. Paid all this money to go to London, and I was just like, I'm sick of this. like, I'm not doing this again. So I lied. I did a couple. I fought on a sub-only tournament and won that at 80, but I stepped in last minute, so I was like, I had to cut basically just not eat carbs for 4 days. Again, that was a miserable experience. Won the tournament, but it felt awful. And I was just like, I'm never cutting to 80 again. Because I mean, I wasn't doing it properly at all.
Like I said, there's no judgment with this.
No. And it's interesting now, because I'm quite fortunate that I have a semi-decent understanding of what I'm eating day to day.
Yep.
So I manage things quite, like I said, I've pretty much been the same weight since I started training. So I've always hovered around 83 kilos. Obviously, if I go on holiday, that goes up a little bit, and whatever. If I get ill, it comes down a little bit. But generally speaking, I just got to a point I was like, they're not that much bigger than me.
No.
They're under 90.
So
it's just like, I mean, I'm quite a strong lad. Like, I've obviously always lifted and stuff like that. So I was always like, I've never felt like, obviously every now and again you get some absolute fucking freak and you're like, Jesus Christ, where have they made you?
Yeah.
But the guys didn't feel any stronger than they did at middleweight.
Interesting.
So I was just like, and if anything, they move a bit slower, which, because I'm a lazy bastard, I was like, yeah, this is great. So I was just like, fuck it. And like, I still am 83, but I'll just fight at 85 or 90.
So if you don't mind me asking, then obviously you went down the cut the carb route.
Yeah.
Where did you find that bit of information? Obviously, to like, that's the best way to shift it. Was it a bit of testing or anything?
So what I used to do was, because I'm a bit mundane, I generally eat the same things every day. Obviously, there's a little bit of variance here and there, depending on what I'm doing in the day. But generally speaking, within a week, I'll eat the same foods. So what I used to do was, I simply would just take what I usually eat and just take things out. Okay. So say, for example, if I had scrambled egg and I'd mix a bit of cheese in, I'd just start by taking the cheese out. So I'd just slowly knock down the calories that way, just like replace, like, instead of drinking semi-skim milk, drink skim milk. So you're just taking calories out slowly by slowly. And then what would happen was I'd usually get to a point where I'd be like, right, it's the week out, I've got a kilo to go, then I'd just go full like drastic, if that makes sense, or like water load and piss it all out. So it wasn't, at the start, it generally wasn't that bad, because I would just manage it like by just, I knew that this had a dense amount of calories in. I knew that I needed the protein, so I wouldn't take the protein out, but I'd take the extra bit out. I wouldn't put cheese on something, or like I said, skim milk, semi-milk, whatever it is, like little things that you can just not, you change my snacks. So instead of having a chocolate biscuit, I'd have a chocolate rice cake. Do you know what I mean? Like,
great alternative.
Yeah. So like, just like bringing down the calories slowly. So it wasn't that, at the start, it wasn't that bad, but it was more towards the end of like you're prepping for the comp and your food's low and you're just like banged up and beat up and, like I said, under-recovered, overtrained, underfed, and just...
Interesting. So this may surprise you or it may not. You went down the calorie route pretty quickly, which is good. A lot of people will go, I'm going to eat clean, or I'm going to do this type of diet, or I'm going to fast, or so. What gravitated you towards calorie counting as such to begin with?
Well, I mean, obviously I've always been in exercise and sort of had a semi-decent understanding of nutrition, but the practice of making weight is different from managing nutrition, obviously. So in my head, it was just like, well, I need to make weight. I know that calories matter. I know what energy balance is. I know all that sort of stuff. Well, I'll just take calories out.
Did that come from going to uni? Or
basic nutrition stuff. So I knew that obviously I eat relatively well, make sure I got my protein in, I eat decent food, like fruits, vegetables. I'm not saying I'm perfect, like I like biscuits with tea and stuff like that, but
Yorkshire.
Yeah. It's the only thing from Yorkshire I like.
Yeah, no, that makes
sense. I just knew that, like, I'd just knock it down a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, but then you get to a point where it becomes about making the weight.
Yeah.
So it would just be like, well, fuck it. Well, I can't really pull any more of the shit stuff out. So I was just like, well, the extra's got to go then, hasn't it? And then it becomes like, well, I've got a kilo to go and I've not got any food in me. I'm eating omelettes 3 times a day or chicken and fucking veg. Well, the water's got to go as well. So it's just like, you're picking up little bits that you've sort of known and seen. Like, I wasn't drastic. I weren't like doing a 6 kilo water cut. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like half a kilo or something like that. Where you just got to make sure you've just got to piss and whatever fluids are coming out. But
So when you said enough's enough, then what is it? All those things that you were doing then just kind of stopped altogether? So like food manipulation, water loading, water cutting, did you just stop all of it, or did you keep some of it in on the lead up to competitions?
no, I just stopped entering brackets where I had to make weight, and just used to go into tournaments and just think, fuck it.
How did the performance go? Did you find there was a bit more improvement out of that? I appreciate that's quite contextual in the sense of like...
In terms of the actual performance, it was pretty similar, really. Yeah. Didn't really affect my performance overall, because your adrenaline just carries you through, or did for me, and it just used to carry me through. The big thing that changed was the binging after. So when you used to cut weight, the backlash would be heavy. Yeah. So I'd just be just trying to stuff my face with everything I could eat.
It's interesting you say that, because I think nowadays, I appreciate the sport that we work in is more same day weigh-in, but there are still probably more competitions coming up. Like, I think we realised the other day, Naga, for example, still the day before weigh-in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, fuck me, that's
so
a nightmare.
You can AJP as well. Yeah. AJP let you do it.
And then obviously we've got some of the sub-only competitions, video weigh-ins and that type of stuff we were chatting to earlier. So there's elements of like day before stuff coming into it, which is pretty cool. But the one thing which I try to explain to people is that mastering the weigh-in now is, I'd say, pretty conclusive. There's still a lot of other bullshit out there. People teach you stupid things, but if you've got a couple of brain cells in there, you can find a format to follow. What's then trying to get these people, again, probably talking like, again, high-end competitors, people competing regularly, is trying to deal with the binge afterwards and mitigating that as much as possible. Because if we can get you going from, I'm off for 4 weeks just eating everything I can fucking see, down to, all right, about a couple of days is absolutely good, your performance is just going to be even better for the following week.
So that was like, and don't get me wrong, mate, like after you compete, I like a Mackies or something, you like to reward yourself, do you know what I mean? Like,
save that for the question later.
But like, it used to go from like, right, instead of just being like, oh, finished, we'll go and have a burger, it was just like a week of just like everything. Like, what did I want that day? Do you know what I mean? So, and obviously I was young and I was in shape and training a lot. So it obviously from a weight gain perspective, it wasn't as bad in terms of like a weight increase, but like it was more just the fact that you just like putting shite in. So that stopped pretty much.
I think it's just that my biggest concern is just the mental fuckery. To this day, I still fucking despise, which is where I feel like it's slowly going down, is bodybuilding competitors at the end of their show with all their fucking fake tan on, like, with a donut, like as if it's like, I don't know, like a newborn fucking child in front of their face. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And like, I know within this sport, it's quite, I'd say not purely, but there's a bit of an alpha mindset around it. Like, you've got to suffer, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And I'm like, that's great and all, and people don't like to talk about psychology, feelings, that type of thing, which is obviously, I think it's going to be a bit more transparent as time goes on. But those binges is what's going to fuck them up massively in the future.
Huge,
And like, especially as people are trying to replicate the actions of a day before weigh-in for the same day weigh-in, it's just going to keep on ticking along. It's going to keep on causing problems, and it'll be the case of like, I'd put money on this now, and anyone can quote me for this. There'll be someone who will come out and say, I've got an eating fucking disorder now. If they haven't done already.
Well, I mean, so a lot of it, one of the things for me as well was like body image stuff. So like it's getting to grips with the hardest thing that for me, the change for me was like putting more food in, because you do like changing physically a little bit. And obviously I come from like an interest in like physique stuff at the start of my sort of training. When I first started going to the gym, it was like, how can I look good? And like, I was in really good shape, and I was like,
train hard, look good naked.
Oh mate, well that's like, and like when I was like 15, I was like peeled, like, well, you look at it, I'll show you a picture after, but like, I was fucking shredded for like a 15-year-old. But obviously, you in your head, you're like, well, that means I must be in really good shape. And when you change, and I was still in good shape when I was like a middleweight, it was still like pretty lean. And obviously it was about, my mindset was like, right, I need to try and change my perspective of this and start putting more food in and training more, you pick up more niggles, like you're like, I need to manage my intake a little bit more and actually get some calories into my day. But again, that comes at the cost of like, well, how you look changes a little bit. And obviously you can still, I mean, I'm not saying I'm out of shape now, but like it obviously changes what you think is like that idea of like, well, I must be peeled to be in shape. And
do you think that comes from the top end guys then? Because it's replicable.
I think it's just probably society as it is. I mean, it doesn't help that, like you said, you watch ADCC and they're all absolutely swollen out the fucking mat.
Any of them barely keep their fucking shirt over.
Yeah. Like they're all like absolutely peeled out their heads. But like, it's society in general, isn't it? It's like the social media side of things, I guess societal pressure in it to look a certain way. And
it's interesting. You said about obviously Owen Livesey being marketable.
Yeah.
Right? If he wasn't as jacked, and let's say they had a dad bod. Hypothetical purposes.
Do I think he'd get the same attention? No.
No, and it's interesting.
Which is mad, isn't it?
Even though he could still chuck people around, like you could take the Orlando Sanchez type of approach and be some badass motherfucker who's like, I'll take on a fucking type thing. But for whatever reason, the attributes needs to be there as well.
But it's bizarre, isn't it? Because in a skilled sport, you think the skill should speak for itself. Like you said, if Owen, to use Owen as the example, if he was like a short, chubby bloke and he had the same skill, he's still next level good.
Yeah.
But would the attention be the same because he's not absolutely massive? Like, it probably wouldn't, which is a mad thing, really, isn't it? Like,
it shouldn't be like that, but it is.
It's bizarre how it works in that way. Like, you, for some reason, like, but like you said, it's that alpha mentality, innit? It's like people are like, it's when people go, the guard pulling thing versus wrestling, I always think is funny.
Yeah.
Like when you get these, for some reason, these blokes like that are like crap as well, that like identify as like, well, foot pulling guard. And it's like, well, I'll just pull guard and kick fuck out off the back, off of that. Like, so I'm not arsed. So it's like, it's this weird like perception of how things have got to be. Instead of just looking at it for what it is in terms of improvement at grappling, they've got to like identify themselves, and I guess it's like why it ends up being like fucking CrossFit and all that shit where it's a bit culty and that, but like it's I don't know what it is. It's probably a deep question that we can fucking answer on.
It's just interesting to view it. Like I said, hypothetically, I'd like to probably put an AI image of Owen with a dad bod type thing. Like, let's fucking go to work.
Would he get like and like I said, mate, it's mad because what should be the attention thing is the fact that he's class. Like, but for some reason, being in shape makes a significant difference.
Before I forget it then, do you know who's in the GP for Polaris yet? Have you seen the lineup for it or not?
I've seen a few,
yeah. Not seen the full. Okay, I can't ask the question and I have to find the names out there. So I can't remember the top of my head, but I was going to ask you.
I'm terrible, mate, at keeping up to date. I'm shy. I just.
So one question I did ask earlier, and I wanted to get your views on this, right? And it's not just yourself. You see on other people who are in the same sort of spirit as myself, and doing S&C, nutrition, performance, whatever you want to call it, type of thing. They put up polls, right? And go, what do you struggle with most? Nutrition, training, as in like weights, S&C, or jiu-jitsu, right? And I think the jiu-jitsu one's a little bit, I'm going to move it to the side because it's a little bit contextual based on it, like is it leg locks, is it wrestling, but whenever you seem to line up S&C and nutrition seems to get more focused, and I think that's situated is not to say like one better than you in the slightest bit. Why do you think more people seem to struggle with the nutrition, in your opinion, from the S&C side?
I don't think it's people struggle more. I think people have more interest. And I have a bit of a theory about this. So I think... sorry, mate.
It's all right.
I'm getting a phone call. I think because obviously within the space that we're in, we're obviously, everything is like, if you look at it, almost like a spider diagram.
Yep.
And the center point is like jiu-jitsu, because that's the primary thing that people want to get better at.
Yep.
So that's already an element of activity that an individual's doing. So we're talking about most general people in the sport, like we've mentioned, 99% of them, maybe a little bit less, call it 90% of people, aren't competitive or they're not bothered about being full-time competitors. It's just about exercise, feeling good, seeing the friends, having a crack, getting better at something. Yeah. So they've already picked an activity that's their primary source of output.
Yep.
S&C, in theory, is another activity for them to fit in.
Okay.
Which I think is why it gets a little bit less biting, because nutrition is something that they can do at home, but they know will help them better at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Whereas S&C will help them get better on the mats, but it's almost like something else they've got to fit into their training schedule. It's like a secondary thing that isn't. It's a secondary activity, whereas nutrition is like, well, I can do this at home because it's going to make me look better and do this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's my theory anyway.
That's what, my take on it originally, it wasn't a preloaded question, but it's definitely an interesting concept you put there. And again, it's me opening a massive can of worms here. my original thought when going down which route to take, so obviously into fitness and that type of thing, was like, as a PT, right, it doesn't take too many people to learn how to do a bicep curl properly. I can jazz it up by giving you the Latin names of muscle groups that you're doing. But outside of that, for me to just go, yeah, cool, fine, and as long as you're not too much of a retard and trying to waggle it around or some bollocks like this, I just think sometimes that people think they know what S&C is or weight training should be like, and whereas nutrition, on the other hand, because, again, potentially going back to body image thing, they're not where they want to be, that they think, I've got a massive fucking issue
there definitely is an element of that as well, because obviously, from the outside, it all looks the same, but two people can program a squat, but one person has got an understanding of why they've picked that, and the other person's picked it because they think they should pick it. Does that make sense? So, but you are right along the lines of that. It's I'm not going to say the respect for knowledge, because that's not what I mean. But
respect him.
It looks the same, doesn't it, on paper? Whereas, like you said, on nutrition, and I guess it is the same, because you're going to have idiot nutritionists and dietitians, and you're going to have good nutritionists and dietitians. But people are going to be drawn towards a nutritionist in general from a practicality standpoint, whereas their mate who will sell them a program for 20 quid. It looks the same. I mean, this is a kind of worms, because we always talk about pricing is like a big thing.
Oh yeah, that is interesting.
Because so from my perspective, so Holly, who trains with us as well, but she's, for want of a better word, like my business mentor, because she just shouts at me for being terrible at business. But
don't put his prices up, please. I like him at the prices.
Yeah. But I have a big complex of pricing.
Yep.
And she's on at me all the time about pricing. And
one final sponsor shout out to the team at Inner Chimp. Inner Chimp is a brand name that really speaks to grapplers and fighters, one we can believe and relate to on a personal level. Inner Chimp is simply catchy, right? And with small tweaks can be your general gym wear and casual wear and rash guards like this for men, women and children. Inner Chimp is ethically produced and has turned down cheaper production overseas to ensure this. Understanding we only have one Earth, right, which we need to look after. This is at the forefront of their production decisions, and we want you, our listeners and viewers, to have a sense of accomplishment in knowing that you are doing your part when buying their products. Inner Chimp tees are 100% organic cotton. Their packaging, 80% recycled cardboard, and all of their products are designed to last. Their production and manufacturing is in the UK, trying and aiming to be as eco-friendly as possible, leaving close to zero global footprint. But to put it simply, Inner Chimp has a massive passion for the sport, attention to detail, and our planet in mind, and always at the forefront of your own Inner Chimp. Go check out their website, www.inner-chimp.co.uk, or go check out their Instagram at inner_chimp. Thank you for your time.
But the problem is, you've got some knobhead who's like jiu-jitsu programming, who's selling a program for 20 quid.
Yep.
But it just devalues the people that are very good at what they do and the reasons that they've done.
So I get the same thing with meal plan.
With like nutritions and meal plans. Yeah.
It's like, oh, here's my meal plan for a tenner or something like
this. But when people are looking at it from a secondary standpoint, so this is why it all links together. If you're looking at it from like a standpoint of like, well, I already do jiu-jitsu, I want to get better and stronger, is his 20 quid and is his £100 a month? I know he's better, but...
Yeah, I think the thing is you've got to look at it, and this is the way I kind of sort of pitch this to a lot of people, not necessarily a sales pitch, I'm an awful salesman, but you've got to look at the time, wealth, and sort of knowledge and experience and the efficiency of
course,
this,
mate,
right?
Yeah.
Let's be honest, that £20 like generic plan or meal plan, right, could do you more damage in the long run than someone who's going to take a tailored approach and say to you, hey mate, well, as I said to you, our ankle's fucked this week, right? What can we change here? Like the barbell split squats ain't gonna fucking happen, right? Now, it's the guy who's giving you that 20 fucking plan. One, you might get lucky, you might give a fuck and go, all right, just do this instead type thing. Whereas someone with yourself is gonna go, all right, cool, well, we're not gonna change this one movement. We're gonna have to assess every fucking thing else, right? Where you're doing your standing shoulder press all of a sudden, let's put no tension for your fucking ankle. It's going to seated now, and then here's some rehab on top of it. And so, I think the good old phrase, pay peanuts, get fucking monkeys, comes to mind straight away.
And then that's the thing, I mean, fucking hell, this is a tangent, because this is like about marketing and all that sort of shit, innit? But like, that's, in theory, you should pay for what you get. Do you know what I mean? Like the amount of clients I get who speak to me and they'll come with me and they'll be like, oh, I've worked with this person in the sport as well. Obviously, I'm not going to name people, but like,
drop them all,
like relatively well-established people within the sport, and they're like, they'll come to me and they'll be like, oh, it was fucking dog shit. Didn't update my program. Didn't do this, and I'm just like, this is like bare bones shit. And it's like, how much are you paying? And they'll either say a ridiculous price, and you're like, what the fuck? Or it's like 15 quid, and it's just like, well, what did you expect? Like I hear stories of like people who were relatively well known in the sport, and they'd be like, I do strength programs, and it's like, well, what's the program? And it's like, oh, they basically just do leg day, and you're just like, what the fuck are you on about? Like, where? Like, it's just, and that's what pisses me off, because there should be an element of scope of practice. Like it is our work, and because somebody's got a better personality, they get better. I think range for income or whatever. But
I have the same sort of gripes back in the day with my other consultancy that I run as well, which is more for Gen Pop and that type of stuff. Another thing outside of jiu-jitsu is, let's take it 5 years ago, Juice Plus and Herbalife fucking rampant everywhere, right? So your hairdresser would be fucking giving you nutrition advice. And I don't go to my hairdresser for nutrition advice, yet if for some reason they want to take it from them type thing. And I forgot what I was going with this tangent, and that was it. And so the way that I would look at these individuals, right, I'm saying, if you're getting people through the fucking door, sorry, this is got complete business marketing here, then they must be doing something right with their marketing. Because one, they don't normally talk about price too much on there, because again, even then they'll be like, oh, it's 170 quid up front, and then from there you can make money and all that type of jazz, right? But that 170 would put people off in the first place, right? But I'm like, if they're getting that many inquiries, these guys know how to market. And in my head, I'm like, right, I need to keep up to that level of marketing to be able to just even get in front of them and then give a better quality of service on top of it, type of thing. But you're very much right in the sense that people think that they expect for their nutrition, nutrition, S&C and everything else to be potentially cheaper than their fucking jiu-jitsu membership. And it's like, you got to understand, this is like having a personalised person following you around and tailoring it all for you so that then you can excel even further, type of thing. Like, and that's where it needs to kind of be pushed along the sort of mean times with stuff. But it is tricky because I appreciate jiu-jitsu hasn't got fucking loads of money. But at the end of the day, you can't speak to any average Joe in the street and say like, oh, how much does an S&C coach cost for like Man City? People will be like, 50k a year. It's like, right, okay, cool, right. How much do you think a nutritionist costs for Man City or Liverpool, whoever type of thing? Oh yeah, they're going to be paid 50k a year type of thing. That then puts you into perspective that we are not in the realms of, for me, Weight Watchers Slimming World. And you are not in the realms of, dare I say, the guy who's done his pure gym 12-week qualification, who's then just chucking out whatever he can type of thing. So it needs not to say we should have respect on the name type itself, but the quality of work should show through enough as it is, and then it should transpire a bit. But then I think with the pricing as well, so to go on the challenge will deter time wasters as well.
Of course, And it's like obviously it's a very deep topic that you can go back and forth on various different ideas on, and it is, but I don't know, it's something that, I mean, obviously none of us are perfect.
Nope.
We all make mistakes in work, we all like, do you know what I mean? Like, it could be something as simple as like you need to update a program and you forgot to bring your laptop charger with you. Like, it could be something as daft as that.
Human.
Do you know what I mean? Like, the service goes down that you update your program on. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it is.
Last 2 weeks I've had that. Some of the nutrition software details that we've got has just been down.
It happens.
I can't do anything.
It happened to me a couple of weeks ago. A client was like, could you send me a program, mate? I can't get on. And I went to log on and it just wasn't working. I was like, fuck. Like, things happen. Do you know what I mean? Human error is a real thing.
It's the same thing with, like, I don't know, this place had a fucking roof leak all of a sudden. It's just not. You and Nick, I mean, they're trying to prod holes in the roof, hoping for the best type thing.
I'm not claiming to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but like the other day when you messaged me and you were like, you don't have to reply to this. It's like, why would I not reply to it?
It's just out of respect.
Yeah, you should fucking pay me to reply to a message. Like, what, you pay me to coach online. If I'm not available, all right, obviously, if I'm asleep or working or whatever it is, then fair enough. But like, at the time, why would I not reply to you? Because it's something that you need my help for. So it's like, and obviously you did that out of respect, as in like it was late at night, and I was just like, but why would I not reply? Why would I not reply?
Just respecting those boundaries more than anything else, really. I try my best, obviously.
No, of course you do, because obviously you're in the role. But like the way I look at it is, if you're paying me to coach you online, and you need my help for something, I'm going to reply to your message. Why would I not reply to your message? If I'm awake, like I said, awake, not on the mat training or working with a client one-to-one, why would I not?
No, exactly. I take the exact same sort of approach with it in the sense that I say to people, available 7 days a week, 24 hours. I'm not going to reply to your dick pic at 3 o'clock in the morning type thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I will try and get back to you as quick as I can. Like, even with time off at the moment, I said, look, guys, I'm going to be driving and stuff. Right? If you don't send me voice notes, because my fucking Apple CarPlay, like, voice note has been sent to you by this person. Like, I can't even play it, so that's fucking text message me. I can read it out and even then try and like, listen to it, and it doesn't need my attention there and then type stuff. No, mate, I am conscious of times I know you've got to make a dash soon with different things, so I'm just going to run through the questions that we normally have for other people, all right? So I know we touched on it briefly, mate, but you go and get your dub, you go and get your gold, wherever that may be, Polaris, whatever it could be. What is the post-comp meal? I know you touched on it briefly, but is it burgers and McDonald's, or is there something else you're going for?
Depends where we are, to be fair. A good one when we ever do Grapplefest, because there's like a Five Guys and stuff in Liverpool, isn't there? But it depends where we are. If we're like on the road, sometimes it is just the Mackies. And
what's the order?
Again, depends what I'm feeling. Trying to think. I've not had a Mackies for so long. I like a double cheeseburger, so I usually get a double cheeseburger on the side, and then some sort of meal, depends what's on. Either wrap of the day, quite like a wrap of the day, sweet chili chicken wrap of the day, meal, cheeseburger, mozzarella dippers if they've got them on. I'm trying to think now. I like a Mackey's breakfast as well, to be fair.
I don't have many breakfast.
I don't really, but if I'm treating myself and I'm on, like, if we go somewhere then and they're still open, then I'll get one.
No milkshakes, nothing like that, no desserts?
No, sometimes I'll have a milkshake if I feel it, but no, all the time I just get a Coke, full fat Coke and treat myself.
See, I don't know what it is, well, they're not 99p cheeseburgers anymore, they're like £1.20 whatever it is, but that's what it is in my head. I'm like, 5-piece chicken select.
Yes, chicken selects are a good option as well,
and then getting the cheeseburger on the side, there's something about
you always got to get a cheeseburger on the side,
you have to. One question is, do you keep the gherkins in or out?
No, out for me. I'm not gherkins.
You're one of them. They won't want the gherkins. I'll have them fucking every time.
See, my missus loves them and like all my mates like them, so it's just like a free for all whoever wants them.
Do you like cucumber though?
I like cucumber, yeah.
It's just pickled cucumber.
Yeah, but it's something about it's the texture of it. It's just like I never have liked them. I don't know why, but it just not for me.
Oh well, a bit of fun and games there. One question that we posted a couple of times actually is quite interesting. You get the chance to win ADCC, like Toppling Gordon, but can never do jiu-jitsu again, right? Or you can continue to do jiu-jitsu again, but never ever compete.
Jiu-jitsu never compete.
Jiu-jitsu never compete.
Yeah, for sure.
Fair enough. Can't go wrong there. A few people have said that, to be fair. There's a couple of people like,
oh, mate, like, as I'm getting older, like, the importance of it in my life is becoming ever more prevalent. So, yeah, I'm not...
Even though you get the chance to topple Gordon finally.
Yeah, I couldn't give a fuck, mate.
Couldn't give a fuck.
Yeah. Not bothered.
Fair enough. Another good question we always ask is going to be, which failure do you cherish the most in your life? Doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu related either.
That is very deep, mate.
Yeah.
You should have pre-warned me on that one.
It's all right, we try not to pre-warn on that one because I want a more raw one. Now, some people come up with an instant response, other people always take a little while to think, so do your time.
I genuinely have got no idea. Biggest failure. I don't know. I genuinely...
It's an interesting concept, do you know what I mean? Everyone has their victories and stuff like that.
What would you class as a failure?
Something that's made you then learn from it more so anything else. Like... An example could be you doing that final weight cut and then going, do you know what, fuck this, I want to go up to...
Yeah, see, that's just fucking common sense. I wouldn't even consider that. That's just me not being a fit bastard anymore. Like, I don't know, you know. I genuinely have got no idea. I guess I wouldn't consider it my biggest failure, but like one of the biggest things that impacted me the most was I blew my ACL when I was a kid. And just like the process of that just sort of, I guess, changed my mindset on many different things.
Okay.
Obviously from an understanding of like, beginning to understand like physiology and stuff like that. But
Nice.
I wouldn't say it's my biggest, I just can't think of my biggest. That was just one that had a big impact, do you know what I mean? Like,
that's fair.
I can't actually think. I've not had that, like, I guess, I don't know.
That's fair. I think I can see that logic because again, even without that experience, should we say, you wouldn't have been introduced to those type of elements.
Yeah, like if you want to go proper deep, obviously that happened, whether you call it fate or whatever, but like that impacted a pathway in my life. So in essence, I guess you could call it that, but there's never really been many that have like stood out in terms of like a proper like catastrophic failure, do you know what I mean? Like, nothing that like I would look at and go, that changed me as a person. But that was quite a big thing. I was young and it stopped me doing the thing that I loved to do at the time, and I had to like reevaluate, and you sort of guess you discover what you're made of a bit in them circumstances, and I'll go with that because I can't think of anything else.
A couple of easy, quick ones. Gi or no gi?
Depends.
Oh, it depends. Context, everything.
I like both. I probably would say I'm more of a no-gi man, but I do love training in the gi as well. The gi is significantly harder than the no-gi, just from the physicality standpoint, in my opinion. No-gi is different. I'm more of a no-gi guy. I like I said, I like them both. It's probably like 51% no-gi, 49% gi.
It's all right.
I've always liked both. I've always liked training both. I wouldn't. I like them both. I don't know. I never get the gi versus no gi debate because I like them both for different reasons.
Fair. I've taken a stance recently to take the Australian version and just do no gi over the summer, and then I'll switch over to gi in the.
See, I like a hot gi session because it's hard. It's rough.
I don't. Yeah, but then I also like a sweaty no gi session like on a Friday evening, and it's fucking steamy.
Yeah,
you know
and like it is. There's just I don't know. The gi is tough. Like no gi's hard. Obviously, don't get me wrong. Like no gi is really hard, and if you go with someone who's fucking good at it, it's a rough time. But like, there's something about like the friction of the gi that just makes it 10 times worse.
I'm convinced my fucking ears are still down to the fucking gi with the cauliflower in, just getting rubbed in the wrong places type thing. But
yeah, I like them both, mate. I do. My heart is probably with no gi overall, but I do like them both.
Nice. Leg entanglements or wrestling?
Leg entanglements.
Fuck wrestling.
Shit question. I like wrestling, but leg entanglements 100%.
Every single time. Fair enough. I like that. One question we got from our previous guest, which is just leaving my mind right now, which is going to really fucking bother me. Here we go. You have to get your phone out for this. What was the last song that you played on your Spotify playlist?
I don't have Spotify.
Or Apple Music, what was the last song?
It was, do you know who Alex the Terrible is?
No.
Do you know who Slaughter to Prevail are?
No.
Fuck's sake, this is Shane will know. Shane will be disappointed. So Alex the Terrible is the frontman in a metal band called Slaughter to Prevail, and he's released a cover of a song called Doomslayer.
Okay.
That's what I was playing on the way to work this morning.
You listen to that, and obviously you got someone, a little old Karen on the way to Tesco. She's looking over you, and they're like, "I'm gonna fucking murder you."
Yeah. So that was it. Yeah.
Fair enough. That's fine. They like skin dread type thing, or not really?
No, they're not like fucking skin dread. They're like a fucking Russian death metal band.
Russian death metal.
That's what he's got, like a mask on.
Jesus Christ! I feel like I recognise that picture for some reason.
Well, Slaughter to Prevail are quite a decent sized metal band, but they wear like the masks like that.
Okay.
But they're just like Russian nutters.
Fair enough.
But that was the last song I listened to.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm trying to think if there's any other questions that I got for you. Have you got any questions for me? Well, that was it. What was your biggest bugbear within the jiu-jitsu scene with S&C stuff at the moment?
Oh, that's the C, or I was going to say jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of them.
Where do I start?
I don't know, you know, I've tried I've made a distinct effort over the last 12, 18 months to like remove anything that will piss me off out of my life. I say out of my life in terms of like social media. So like if I see something that I don't like, I just fucking block it straight away because I'm just like, I can't be arsed with that annoying me for today. The big thing in S&C is just like people selling garbage and trying to convince you that it's worth something. Like like jiu-jitsu specific exercises that don't fucking exist and don't make you any better at things. That's always number one. That pisses me off more than anything.
That's the one thing that got pissed me off the other day was seeing so many people do the Stairmaster.
Yeah, just like
There's so many, like, if that's the only bit of equipment you can get access to, I might understand it slightly, but...
I mean, I'd still rather just go for a walk outside. So like that jiu-jitsu specific stuff is always number one. There's loads of things that piss me off. Anytime anyone like mentions like the max effort method tends to get under my skin a bit. Not because it's not effective, it's just because it's just like read another fucking book for Christ's sake.
What's that like? Like
so it's West Side. It's like West Side, the conjugate method, but it's just like fuck me, just read another book for Christ's sake.
Well, I just took on board. I think it was early doors. I know it was one of Joe Rogan's podcasts. And I could see the logic rather than like going completely solely behind it. It was one of the strongmen were talking about deadlift warm-up maxes.
But again, context.
Yeah.
His approach to deadlifting is the difference between deadlifting for back health and deadlifting for strength is significantly different.
Yeah.
So context is king.
Yeah, and the way that he kind of broke it, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've seen the clip. Yeah.
And it is they're talking about in terms of like risk to reward, and it's not.
But then we know from literature that there's no inherent issue with deadlifting in terms of back pain.
Yeah.
So like I always say this to clients, like again, somewhere in the middle. So like we're always told that like it's not an exclusive rule, but generally it's a bit of both. And it's usually the opposite of what you do, which is what's going to, if we're talking about back pain.
Yeah.
Like if you look at strongmen, world's strongest man, well of course he's got a bad back, but then you've got yogis who only do stretching and the backs are fucked as well. So it's like there's nothing it's not inherently bad, it's smart decision making, isn't it? It's like maybe don't try and pull 300 kilos off the floor and your back won't be that bad.
Why is that in my programme then?
But like,
300 kg.
so it's just about a bit of having a bit of pragmatism.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's the same thing, obviously, for the dieting world type of thing. Like, again, my argument being that you don't need to be eating clean 24/7, 7 days a week.
That's like someone saying never eat steak because you will die of a heart attack.
Yeah, or again, like, it's the whole thing of like, you shouldn't have any processed food.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, let's go further. Like, I told you, like, playing fucking devil's advocate and shit. I'm like, so what level of processed food are we talking about? They go, what do you mean there's levels? I'm like, level 4 is ultra high processed food, and then we start working our way down.
Yeah,
so we're talking about all of it.
Are you eating it straight off the cow?
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Technically is processed.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got to process it to get it off the pissing animal.
Exactly. So it's one of these little things, and you look at the technology, like the terminology of processing, is to basically put something in a can or like wrap it up in something like that. And I'm like, so you're telling about removing all that. Well, the other one's sugar, and I'm like, so we're talking all sugar. So we're talking fruit as well. Oh no. I'm like, but you just said all sugar. Like pick where you want to go.
It's the same thing. It's just extreme absolutes.
Yeah. The thing is, I like playing against them again. There's another one. It was like, oh yeah, you should eat all natural all the time. And I'm like, all right, cool. You like Mr. Primal over here. Why'd you drive your car still?
Yeah.
That's not primal. I was like, oh no, that's not unhealthy. I'm like, it's definitely unhealthy. Like you could be walking everywhere. You could be sprinting for your feed and all this type of stuff. And I'm like, well, there we go. Like, but if you want to stick with that game, then we'll go down that route. And you'll find out very quickly it's not going to go that well. Sorry, mate. You got any questions for me before we wrap it all up? I know you've got obviously an appointment to get to. So.
No, I think so.
Well, mate, again, thanks. Obviously, let me come down here or come up.
Pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Wicked facility. Hopefully,
shout out Neil for.
Yes, thank you, Neil, obviously, for letting us be here and accommodating this. Have you got any shout-outs to other people as well, like any sponsors, anything like that, or anything else like that?
That's one of my big prides in life is that I've never had a single jiu-jitsu sponsorship.
No.
I quite like that, though.
We got two. We got Grapplers Soap and in a Chimp. We got those two there.
I'd rather pay for it myself than wear someone's shit kit.
To be fair, it's not too bad with the stuff they give us. And to be fair,
sorry, I'm not talking about this one. I just meant in general. Like you see some lads and they're sponsored. I'm like, I'd rather they not.
There's a few brands out there which I don't like the look of in the slightest bit, but they are chucking stupid amounts of money to fund people.
Oh, are they? I don't know.
Yeah,
never had one. So
how is it? There's one brand in particular that comes to mind. They're literally saying, "Oh, we'll pay you for someone's tuition for jiu-jitsu for a whole year," and this type of stuff. I'm like, you're just starting out and you're chucking that type of money around.
Play. I have no qualms with it. If you've got the money to do it and you're willing to do that, fair play to you.
More to the community.
Yeah, more to the community, more to the lads. But I wouldn't wear the kit. Crap.
It's all good. Dude. Well, look, again, thanks very much. Really appreciate
pleasure.
it. Bosh.
Bosh.
There we go. We'll go with that one. There we go.
Class. Nice one.
Nice, mate. Happy with everything on there?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Perfect.